Well, good evening, everybody. It's live. It's Monday night. So we're back again on Monday night. Uh, 78 degrees here in the valley. It's been a very active day, a very active weekend in the apiaries. Hey, Jeremy, Eric, Clay. How are you, Brian? Haven't seen you in a while. DC's on here. Let's see, who else do we have? There's Kathy and Jonathan Stevens, and Mike's on here, and I'm assuming there's going to be some other people joining us here shortly. And Pennsylvania's on here. So we got a good little crowd to start with. More coming all the time. So Clay's been doing some splits. There's James. It's He was just telling me a while ago. There's Joe from Perry County. He split another hive that he'd already split 5 times. There's Roy, Dodd. How are y'all? Eldred. He was saying on here before the show started that he had split a hive again. There's Berry Kind Bees. I'm assuming Kathy's with you, JT. So I got to pin the link, don't I? Yes, I do. The link is pinned. Whoever wants to come in can come in. So we did some splits this weekend. Our apiary grew. So I'm going to be putting some bees on pallets this year, getting them ready to go out of town in the fall. There's Mark Zenner. How are you tonight, Mark? Got some plans for the apiary for this fall and this winter and next year. There's not sure who this one is. Beekeeping at Queen Bee. So I've had a lot of requests today for a couple of topics for tonight. Trying to wait to see if they get on here. I hope they do, because it's going to be pretty interesting. Yeah, I've missed the past couple of nights, few shows with I missed a show with Charlie on Friday night. I had house guest on Friday night, and Saturday night I was just flat wore out. So, hey James, we had a dipping day at the store this weekend. We were wax dipping a lot of product, so I guess all in all, we dipped maybe 3 pallets of product and had a pretty good day. So, yeah. So, hey, Dennis, how are you tonight? I'm going to let a few more people get in here and then we'll start on a topic. There's Roy again. So, how were y'all's bees this weekend? Did everybody get into bees and work bees, or was it too cold in places and rainy or bad weather or what? So, we did a lot of splits, did some requeening. So, splitting and more splitting, yeah. How are you, Eric and Kevin? £90 of early spring honey. That's pretty good, Mark. I've got honey that needs to come off too, but I'm kind of hesitant to pull it off. OA Saturday, then the rain started. Yep. You know, we were supposed to get rain this evening, and it's not going to rain. It's just going to be nice and hot. So it's not going to rain at all. How you doing there, Mr. Brian Castle Hives? Haven't seen you in a long time. You've been staying busy with that new grandbaby? Hmm. So, one of the topics for tonight, somebody had asked me about today was how do we create comb and still take honey? So, that's one of the topics for tonight. And you know, you've heard me talk about the honey tariff or the comb tariff on comb. We have a Canadian beekeeper on tonight, David Vanderson. David Vander Dusen. Early spring in Ontario. What's your temperature running up there about right now at night? Well, we're glad to have you on here, David. So, yeah, anytime you draw a comb in the spring, you're going to sacrifice some flow. Anybody else? I mean, DC, yeah, you give them thin syrup, but what happens to that thin syrup, though? Do they pack any of it away on you in the spring? Undrawn frames to every box. Yeah, you can do that. That's another way to do it. Pink plastic. You've been to Nobby and you've got an acorn frame in your hive. Just don't mix that plastic with wax foundation, because they'll take the wax foundation every time. Yeah, DC, I mean, early spring is the time to start making your foundation, making your comb that you can use to split with later on. We do try to draw comb in the fall as well, as much as we can with some thin syrup. They'll draw comb. But typically it's early spring when the bees are more willing to draw out comb than any other time. But how much nectar does it take to dry out 1 pound of wax? Can anybody tell me? Anybody got any ideas? How much nectar does it take to dry out 1 pound of wax? It's pretty interesting. It's it's a pretty big ratio of wax to nectar. That's correct, Brent. 6 to 8 pounds of nectar to make 1 pound of wax. Yep. Brent's right. It's a pretty hefty tariff when you start thinking about it, because that 6 to 8 pounds of nectar. How much honey does that 6 to 8 pounds of nectar make? It doesn't quite make 6 to 8 pounds of honey, but it's more like between 5 and 6 pounds of honey. So that's what you're losing. How many fully drawn, deep drawn frames is 1 pound of wax? Well, I can tell you that there's about a pound of wax in a medium. So you can figure about 1.5 to 2 pounds. Yeah, you're right, DC. It's probably not making it into the honey. But if you're depending upon the nectar coming in for them to draw that wax, then you're losing honey production. And it will affect you down the road when you go to pull honey at the end of the summer. Hey, Judith, how are you tonight? So you really got to consider what you're doing and be very judicious about it. Your queens will be in Harrisonburg in the morning, Judith. Yeah, that. Did you text me earlier, Brent, about that? Because if you are, you're one of the reasons for this for this talk tonight. We have to be very judicious about how much wax we draw out in the spring. This year I'm paying a hefty tariff because I didn't draw any last year, because didn't think about it last year. I just dove right in and did splits last year, and I had plenty of extra frames. And I realized I've got to rotate frames out this year. So what I've done is I'm going to make my splits draw my wax. And I'm splitting into 5-frame nukes this year. So I'm going to have them draw my wax for me, which isn't going to affect my production hives as much. That's another way to do it. So I've got 7 splits down there right now, and I've got another dozen coming. So I'll have about 20 splits drawing my wax. And that's going to be wax to rotate frames out in the larger hives, so I don't slow my production down. So it's another way to look at it, another way to do. Hey, Jack, Danette, how are you tonight? No, I don't have an older brother, Kenny G. Sorry. So I saw Flower Street on here earlier. How do you do it, Brian? How do you get your bees drawing wax out early in the spring? And how do you get around paying that hefty tariff on that new wax? Yep, I asked you a direct question. If you're still out there listening. Dodd, I know you're in here. Oh, there's Tom. Let's ask Tom the same question. Or Melissa the same question. How do you get around paying the wax tariff every year? There's Philip. How are you tonight? Eddie uses swarms to draw his wax. Philip, how do you do it? How do you get your bees? How do you get around paying that wax tariff when you need comb drawn out? How do you do it and not interrupt your production hive by doing it? Tom, Melissa, anybody? Start early, feed syrup, feed late. Yep, and start drawing in the fall. That's a good way to do it, DC. And Brian from Castle Hives feeds very early. Yeah, you're right. Hey, Jeff, how are you tonight? Oh, there's Tommy G. How are you tonight?
What's up, man?
How's it going?
I'm tired, but I'm good.
Tired? You haven't done anything all day.
I know. Well, I just woke up about 10 minutes ago and I'm still a little sleepy.
So how do you avoid paying the wax tariff when you need comb drawn? And because you don't want to interrupt your production hives unless you absolutely have to. So how do you do it?
So what I've done before, I've never really been solely focused on honey production. So it's never been a upfront goal, I guess, if you will. My goal was to produce a couple of things. One was to increase my colony numbers every year, but also produce nucleus colonies out of ours and then sell those so we can keep cash flow going for one. And we can also kind of like you're like pre-swarming them is what you're doing, breaking them down just far enough that when they build back up right before the nectar starts really hitting hot and heavy, they're not going to swarm, but yet they're really starting to peak out, probably a week and a half or so ish after the honey or the nectar really gets flowing. But so I've done it a couple different ways, actually. When we make splits, we usually do two, sometimes, depending on how much brood we have, 3 frame splits, so pretty hefty splits. And then I'll give them a frame of honey or food with pollen mixed in. And then we give them foundations and let them push on it, because believe it or not, when those girls orientate under a nectar flow, they'll start drawing combs out pretty quickly. The second thing I've done is if I've ever caught any swarms, which is not often, ironically, we caught one today, probably out of one of my colonies, and I don't know which one it was after we went through that entire yard. All I did was give them one comb and I give them all foundations. And those girls are probably, I'm guessing by how they were hanging, 4 pounds of bees. They'll probably dry out. Now, again, I'm 8 frame boxes doubled up. And I gave them 2 boxes. I gave them 2 drawn combs and everything else was just straight foundations. And I'm telling you, under this nectar flow, they'll probably have that pushed out in 10 days. So they'll crank it out. And if they're really good at it, I'll pull a box or pull frames off of them and I'll checkerboard more in. So if a colony's already swarmed, I've lost honey production on that colony potentially anyway. So I'm just going to capitalize on wax. We also checkerboard a lot of frames in our brood nests every year. Whenever we're making our splits out of it, I'll checkerboard in, again, just plastic foundations in there and just let them go to town on it. So I can replace combs that I've pulled out. I've held them back a little bit and they can still produce pretty good honey crops. So I don't know that that's any kind of a real, golden nugget, but it's just how it's worked for me and how I've done it. So I capitalize on it a couple different ways, but I definitely don't discount draw and comb. Definitely not.
Right. Bill, how do you do it?
All right. So first of all, I don't have a huge need for extra wax for frames because my standard system, just a starter strip like that, and they, build the comb down off of it. But Bill, I bought some acorn frames from you the last couple of years. First year I bought it was double wax, and I was not happy at all on how they drew it out. So this year I recoated everything. So you're right. I went through a lot of wax, but I had enough from just from cleaning old frames. Might have accidentally burned a little bit when I was processing some of my cappings, things like that. And so, but I used just about every bit that I had built up, which was probably, I don't know, 8 pounds or something like that to do the, I think 52 I bought from you this year. But it does take a lot. But now I do buy a lot of wax, but I only buy wax for candles. What I do is I process my wax cappings, and if it comes out nice and clean, I'll use that in my cosmetics. And any of the old dirty wax that I can't use for anything else, that's what I wax frames with. And so far, I've been able to keep up. I thought I was going to have to dip into some of my bought wax, but I barely made it to the end. But now I'm starting to build up again because one of the old drawbacks or to this, I don't know if you can see, it looks like you can see where it's been torn out right here.
Oh, yeah.
That's where they put a bunch of drone comb. So when I go through a dead out or in the spring before they get in there and start laying drones, I'll just go in there with my hands and tear out all that drone comb and throw it in a bucket. And I'll use that wax to make, to render down. So using this technique, you end up with a little bit more wax than you normally would just because of the drone comb. Now, sometimes I'm too late. It irritates me when it fills up completely with drones. And I'm trying to come up with a better method because if you put those frames in a strong colony in the spring, they're going to pull a ton of drone comb. It's almost like a waste because you end up with way more of that in your frames, and I end up having to tear it all out later.
Yep.
But if you do the same thing with a swarm, you'll get the most beautiful brood comb, worker brood comb you can imagine from this. If you put these in a swarm, you'll get some really nice comb back. So I am gonna focus less on putting drawn comb in my swarms to get them there faster and just using them for comb building more than I have in the past.
Okay.
So that's how I do it. Matter of fact, let's see. It's funny when you started talking about this subject. I'm getting over here. I'm about to go get I kind of grade it out. If it's not too dark, I'll throw it in one can. If it's like super nasty, here's some really I won't get much. I'll probably get like a less than a 1/4 inch thick of wax off of that.
Yeah, but that's a lot of straining to get that cleaned up.
Yeah, it makes me feel a little guilty. I think I'm probably costing me an electricity, and then what comes out, it's pretty dirty, but I'll melt it down and just pour it through some pantyhose. These are like pieces that are this is for waxing frames, which is still pretty dirty, but I'll pour it through some pantyhose and it'll be fine. This is what I've graded out to do, is cleaning up for my cosmetics when I finish rendering it and see how yellow it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know if it was your show or somebody else's, but I was showing my little device that fits in those coffee cans, and I can push this down and
Yeah.
the wax will come through the top.
Yeah. You showed that on Charlie's channel.
Okay. But anyway, yeah, you called me just as I'm scraping some old nasty wax off these combs to throw in these cans and start heating it up. Kind of funny when you said that. I said, well, I've got to go on now because Bill's talking about what I'm doing.
Hey, I want to show you something that makes a huge difference too, actually. Let me do something here. So here's something that makes a big difference too. I've been getting these from Bill now for a short little while. So I don't know if the lighting's going to show up real well or not. It may not. Can anybody see how you compared to my door? Can anybody see how yellow that is? I'm not sure how well it's showing up with the lighting. It might be kind of hard to tell. But the one cool thing I like about those acorn frames, and I get these straight from Bill there at Shenandoah, is they have a thick top bar. I like these wooden frames. a nice thick top bar, thick side bars, put together really well, nice staple in them. And honestly, those foundations too. These have got to be my favorite super frame that I use in there. Acorn's a little bit more expensive than some of the other ones, but in my opinion, they're worth it.
Now I'm going to give you my secret, Tom.
Okay.
Acorn didn't make the frames.
They didn't.
They're Amish frames.
Well, they're good frames.
Yep.
They're a nice
And that
thick frame.
foundation that's in it is put in before they get shipped out to you.
Okay. Well, there's a nice heavy coating on them. I've got them before where the coating was mediocre, but I'm telling you, that makes all the difference in the world. Having a good coating of wax on the plastic, those bees will go take to it and push it straight out off the cone, off those plastic foundations very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest things that I don't like to do that I know Philip is okay with doing, I absolutely despise waxing frames. I don't want to build them. I don't want to wax them. I want to pull them out of the box and I want to throw them straight in the hive and let the girls do all the work.
I'm not really into that. I don't like it either, but.
Oh, you don't? Well,
it just,
I
so
will.
Far, it was either to do that or quit using them, because last year when I put them in there, they draw a few out, but then they would like rob the wax off the others that's been coated with wax, and then you really have to wax them after that. But
Yeah.
but no, I don't look forward to that. Now frame building, I don't mind at all. I like to build frames. But
That's cool. I'm going to send you a whole bunch of pieces. Just put them together and ship them back up to me.
okay. For about $3 for about, I can put them together just for $2 a piece for you, Tom.
Dude, I can't afford you.
Because you're a friend. Because you're such a close friend.
Oh, hey, Bill, I feel like he's pulling one over on me. What do you think?
I don't know.
The only thing is, you just hate to put them together. You don't like to put them together enough. See,
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, see, all those frames have got 6 staples on them.
Yeah.
Plus they're glued.
Yep.
there's no look. Hey,
And you don't find 6 staples very often.
Yeah. So here's something else that Bill's talking about. I have them still banded together. I don't want to take them apart. So you can see them on the top. You can see them on the bottom. So there's 2. And then you have the other side, which is 4. But then also look at the very end, right underneath the ear. See them staples under there? That right there will make the biggest difference in the world.
And they're angled up.
If you're a person that coming out of winter takes a J hook and pulls up on them, you're going to potentially break wood sometimes getting that propolis to let loose. The trick that we always do is we always take and stick our hive tool between the frames and push side, and then J hook and pick them up. And very rarely do we ever pull the top bar off. And I can tell if it was a cheaper frame or something that we had gotten, on something else that that propolis coming out of winter is it's like Type Bond 3. It's pretty heavy duty stuff. So that does make a lot of difference in the world, especially if you think about it. Brood frames, we're going to cycle out. So if we'll usually pull at least one split out of, and most of the time they're drawn combs, not all the time. We'll pull at least 4 to 5 frames out of a double 8 frame box for a split. And we usually get at least one split. Sometimes we'll get another one off of there, depending on how busted the seams they are. So we're actually going to cycle out at least 5 of those 16 frames every year. So theoretically, as long as it works out, I should only have a frame in there for 3 years, maybe 4 years.
Yep.
But the super frames, I still have most of the original ones that I started with 9 years ago. But I really try to keep the queen out of there, for one, so that there's no brood cocoons left behind. And like I said, that's why I don't mind paying a little more, because honestly, I would expect that I'm going to have these super frames, which typically go on a colony and stay on there for first week of April through, say, July. So April, May, June. So 3 months out of the year. I don't typically put supers back on for a fall flow because we don't really get it. So 3 months out of a year, these supers or combs will be on there. So I don't know. I expect to have them for a long time. If they start getting thick or start getting brittle or start having problems, I'll start cycling them out at that point. But I would urge anybody that if you're looking for a wooden frame with plastic foundation, look at the Acorn. It's the only ones that I have in any of my supers, and I don't even know how many supers we have now. Love them. They're always consistent. I've never had any problems with the bees drawing them out. Bill's got a good deal on them. Most of the time, he's pretty fair on his price when it comes to that. So I would urge people to do that.
Now, Tom orders them by the pallet.
Yeah.
So he's going to get a little bit better price than the retail price.
Well, what I would urge people to do is think ahead for the season of how many supers you think you're going to need. Once you start getting into beekeeping and start getting these colonies, you'll kind of get an average of how many supers you can fill a year. And at that point in time, as you start increasing, order that and then order like 10% more so you have it sitting aside. So whenever you're going to Nobby or places like that, order up a bulk order for whatever that looks like for you. Order it up at Nobby, call up Bill, let him know what you're looking for, and order up everything you need for that season. That'll be the way you'll get your best deal on anything.
Now, Nobby prices are really good, but my everyday retail price is really good because you walk in the store and you buy 10 frames, 10 medium frames is $32.50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good price. That's really not bad for a good quality frame, in my opinion.
10 deep frames are $3.50 each, $35.
Which is still not bad compared to like Premier and some of those other brands that you're going to buy. I mean, I don't know what those guys are up to now when it comes to that, but
Premier is almost a little over $4 a frame.
I figured it probably was.
The Man Lake are a little over $4 a frame.
We definitely order a lot more deeps than we do the mediums. We ordered a pallet of 1,000. And I got them in the day before our workshop thing. So whatever date that was, February something.
Yeah. So medium frames, it's 800 to a pallet. And once I get it out of the door, I can stack another 200 on it and make it 1,000 frame pallet. 800 fits through my door.
Mm-hmm.
There's 640 on a deep pallet, and then once I get it out of the door, I'll put another 200 on top of it and make it an 840 pallet.
Yeah. What's the opening on a semi door? 8 feet, 9 feet?
Depends on the height of the box. Most of them are 95 to 98 inches.
Okay.
But yeah, Bill, if I'm probably putting on like 300 frames this year. If I had to wax all of them, I'd be buying wax for sure. There's no way I'd have enough to cover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That takes a while to do. It really does.
Yep.
We also will capitalize. So if I pull honey supers, maybe just a little bit early and there's still a little bit of a trickle flow coming on, you usually have a busting crowd going on inside those colonies. You're trying to, if you had, say for me, an average of 3 honey supers per colony, sometimes you get 4 or 5, but I'm going to say average about 3, maybe 3.5. So if I have that on there, you push all those girls out of all those supers down into a double deep box, it's full. So you can capitalize on that if you have a little bit of nectar flowing, or again, after you pull supers, put just a little bit of really light feed, like a 3/4 ratio of sugar to 1 part water, something that's really light, more like what nectar would be. Give them just a little bit of feed and then slow feed them like with a bucket or something of that nature. You can continue to capitalize on that bee power and get them to draw out an extra box. So when I put treatments on, I'll take an extra box and throw it on top of my double deep and then put my treatment in between there. And then a lot of times they'll go up there and sometimes they'll at least draw maybe not a full depth on it, but they may draw it out maybe 25%. And that's enough because next year, that little 25% just gave them a little bump because they're going to take straight to those frames and they're going to draw them out. Now, the downfall is that I found is if you leave those frames in there and there's nothing, there's no stimulation, and you leave them there too long, the girls will pick the wax off of that plastic. And at that point in time, what you have to do next year is you have to re-wax them before you put them back on, because that's when they do weird wonky combs. So when we find those combs in there, we pull them out and we just start tossing them and use the already waxed ones. Occasionally, if I get a wild hair, we'll heat up the crock pot deal and we'll re-wax a whole bunch of them, or I'll just sell them off cheaper to get rid of them, and we'll buy new ones already pre-waxed.
Yeah. So I do have frame parts in stock as well. And I will build empty frames, either wedge tops or groove tops. So for you to buy them, and for me to build them, it's about $2 a frame.
Yeah.
Okay, see there, he's already undercutting me, Tom.
Dang it. I love it. Bill's getting the business for you are, Philip.
See, you're in Texas. I'm in Virginia. If you're down near Phil, buy them from Phil, because I don't have to ship them that way.
No, I don't. I've got plenty to do. I don't want to build frames for anybody but myself. Trust me. Trust me. Yeah, Jonathan on here had a comment, said by the time you build 100, you've got more into it than paying $350 a piece. And I absolutely agree. And I don't know if he meant building or assembling, but either one, he's right.
Yeah, he's right.
When you build them like I do, I wouldn't sell one of my frames for less than $5 the way I make them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see,
and
that's just like Better Be, Premier, Pierco, Dedant, and Manley. Buy the frame. You can buy the sticks from them and put them together, but by the time you buy the sticks and the foundation from them, you're above what I charge for an assembled frame.
Yeah, I got behind last year, and I think I bought 200 frames from Dedant, and I liked them, except for one thing I like about my frames better than theirs is this groove in the top on theirs, because I guess you have to put the plastic in it. It's like twice as wide as mine. So when I put my starter strips in here, it takes a lot more wax to get it to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just a single saw curve, which works perfect for my starter strip. So
yeah, I will say this: if you want wedge top frames, I'll build them for you, but don't expect wax in them, because I don't sell wax foundation. It's too hard to get, and it's too daggone expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I buy the wax foundation from Dedant and like 75 or 200 at a time. But they still, now I just checked the price of the day. They're like $1.30 or something each now for a sheet. But I take them and I cut, and I make at least 10 starter strips out of each one. So I'm paying like 13 cents a piece for my.
Yeah, but when you figure that in 25 pounds, if you buy 100 pounds of wax.
Yeah. Oh no, I priced it. I almost ordered it to melt down for candles. It's cheaper. It's cheaper than buying
Just
it.
make sure you don't get the wired wax for that.
No, I don't. I started out with the wired wax, and when I was trying to cut my starter strips, you got to clip every wire. That's terrible.
You do.
Unwired. I'm about to have to. I think this year I'm going to use up. It's been a couple of years since I ordered a big box of it.
But 100 pounds of wax worked out to be a little over $500 for 25 pounds of wax. It's expensive.
Well,
and typically the wax that you get is the old stuff that's set in a warehouse and it's brittle.
I buy my wax. I bought a block of wax from Bob Benny at Nobby, and I bought a couple of boxes from Be-Lite. And I've ordered theirs too. I've ordered from them and I think it's what is the size of those boxes? I don't know how they can ship them free because they're heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about $9 a pound roughly. Something like that. And that's catching it on like some kind of special uses.
And those big, you talk about the big tray size blocks of wax from Bob?
Yeah, it was a
They're
15-pound
35
block.
pound, they're 35-pound bars.
No, I bought the ones that were half that size, 15 or so.
Okay.
But I would not want to just order it because when I saw the range, some of it was real pretty yellow and some of it was just kind of greenish. So I wouldn't want to order it. I want to pick it out myself like I can do at Nobby and get the color I want. Because I'm using it for candles.
Hey, Bill, did you see the comment that Mark Miller left up top? He asked you.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yep. All he's got to do is call me and I'll give him a price.
Gotcha. Just want to make sure you've seen that.
Yep, I saw him.
One thing we did do this year is we did get a bunch of 21st Beef drone comb frames in.
Yeah.
I do like the wax that he has sprayed on there. It almost builds up as it stacks on there, and the bees manipulate it and move it around a little bit easier. So it's difficult. It's not cost prohibitive for me to, and him and I have talked about this, for me to buy a bunch of the deep frames because we cycle them out so frequently. But the one thing that I won't cycle out frequently is, and I've bought a bunch of them, was we got a whole bunch of the deep drone comb frames that we put in each colony. And I've run out, actually. I still need to probably place a last minute order, a handful of drone comb frames from him. But we started dropping a drone comb frame in every colony.
You saw what DC said, right?
I'm just telling you my experience and what it is that I use. Something that I found that I like.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I think you pay credit where credit's due. You know what I mean? That's all. I think that I like the acorn frames. I do. I like a wooden frame, and I like the plastic foundation. When I first got started in beekeeping, the lady who owns a store near us, she tends to try to push people in using wax foundation, and that's fine. Wax foundation is good. I would suggest that as long as you don't mind taking the time to wire it in, bees will take to it very, very quickly. The drawback that I have found myself, and I don't like, everybody knows I'm a little bit OCD, is I don't like on the bottom of the frame, they'll chew that wax up and they'll leave a gap down there. And it's usually anywhere between 3/8 and sometimes a 1/2 inch, 5/8 of an inch. They'll chew that up. Sometimes they'll chew pass through in at the edge of the frame too. Right here at the edge where this gap is at, they'll chew that, which is fine again. They take to it easily. So I don't like the labor intensive nature of having to wire wax in, because if you ever decided to throw one in a centrifuge and it's not wired in well, that thing will blow out, and it sounds like a tire blowing out on a trailer on you.
Yeah, it does.
Causes a ruckus, for one. And two, and this is my biggest gripe, and I find it still because I've got a handful of foundations left in there that should have been cycled out by now, but I keep finding a handful here and there. When they chew along the edges and a colony gets so robust and they start building swarm cells, they typically build them on the bottoms, right, of the frames, typically between boxes. But the other place that they'll build them is right in that edge on the sidebar. They'll tuck it right in there where they've chewed that wax. And if you're not paying close attention or shaking bees off there, and you're trying to kill off all the swarm cells or trying to keep the queen in the box, or you're trying to introduce a new queen, if you leave 1 or 2 cells in the corner, they're either going to murder the queen you gave her, or they're still going to swarm because you missed 1 or 2 of those swarm cells in the sides. And that's the biggest thing that I hate about them. It takes longer to kind of look at a frame, analyze it, and find the swarm cells. Whereas if I use the plastic foundation, they don't do that. So that's one of the reasons why I particularly like it. It's less labor intensive. If you're building them, good wax on the foundations, they take to it easily. I know some people absolutely despise plastic, and that's fine. I found that it's very, very convenient and easy to use. And like I said, the bees will take to it as long as it has a good coating of wax. So just my experience.
Now, there's something else to take that a step further. When plastic foundation first came out, there was no wax on it. Okay. There was no such thing as wax being on it from the manufacturer. And wax foundation really got a bad rap at that point when it first came out.
Okay.
Because everybody said, oh, the bees won't build on it. Well, they were right. They weren't building on it. Because why should they build on plastic when there's a frame of wax sitting right beside it? Because people were checkerboarding their hives with it. 2 tips. All or none. It's either all wax or all plastic. At least a double dip or a double coating of wax. And before you put that frame in the hive, 1-to-1 sugar water, and take a spray bottle and spray it on the frame on both sides. When they go to that frame to get the sugar water, they realize there's beeswax on that foundation.
I'll try that.
A double dip coating of beeswax on that piece of foundation, just one side, is enough to draw out that entire frame.
Yeah.
I'll have to try that. I'll try the sugar water. I haven't tried that. But hey, Bill, are you going to start selling the triple wax acorn at any point?
If I get enough orders for it, I will. Because triple wax Acorn doesn't coat their frames until they get orders for it.
That's good. That's important.
That way it doesn't sit out in a warehouse somewhere and all melts off and runs down to the floor. And you got a big pile of wax laying underneath the pallet.
And it's fresh.
And it's fresh that way. Triple wax is hard to ship because I've shipped in triple dip foundation before, and the bottom of the box, because the back, let's face it, the back of a freight truck is hot because of where it's coming from. That's a long ride. And the bottom of that box will have 3/16 of an inch of wax in it, where it's run down.
It's not on the frame anymore at that point.
It's not on the foundation anymore. It's in the box.
Yeah.
So what I do is I flip the box over and I stack them upside down, and where I keep all of my product, I keep it warm in there because I got honey in there, and it'll soften up and it'll run back down on the frame.
Yeah. The reason I even started looking at acorn is because the lady that represented them dropped off some at my house because she brought it to Dallas, and she just found me online, I guess, and asked if I wanted it. She didn't want to fly back to California with it. And so I took it, but there was like 10 frames, just like what I get from you, but I'm sure they were triple wax. They were really, really tacky. And,
well, now that double is really, really tacky too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't have nearly as good a luck with 2 years, where I got with you from year before last at Nobby. As I did
now
with
the double wax acorn is like a triple wax from the dam.
Yeah, it's a good coating on there.
Yeah, I've never gotten that. But anyway, I waxed everything this year before I put it on, including what was left over from the year before.
Yeah.
I probably got too much on there. It's hard to get a light coating with a roller. It fills in all the grooves.
Yeah, they'll clean it out.
But they're doing better on it so far this year.
Yep.
Kevin had a really good comment or question up there at 744. He says, do any of you clip the corners on your plastic foundation for the bees to pass through?
I saw that. We don't clip it. I mean, there's people out there that do, but once you've got that foundation in a wooden frame, you have to take it out to clip that corner out.
Yep. So when we were building some of our own frames to start, I would take a pair of pliers and I'd snap off the 2 corners and then I would snap it in place. But since we buy them already installed like that, I don't pull all that stuff out to clip the corners.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if when I did it before, if it actually helped anything or not. I really don't know that I noticed a difference, to be really honest with you. Not saying it does or doesn't, but that was just my experience and observation.
I
For
would love
me, it
to
just seems
set-
like an extra step now.
Yeah, I don't buy the plastic inserts. I buy either the whole plastic frame or nothing at all.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, those 10 that I got from Michael that have the holes in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
the bees are using those holes as pass-throughs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We do.
Probably they probably seal up like 1 out of every 4 or 5 holes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was watching them on there and they're using them.
We have a bunch of those frames in our home yard that we keep here that are in some apibays. And I was going through those colonies here yesterday afternoon, and I found a bunch of them in there. Some of them that actually sat in there all winter with that apparently hadn't gotten drawn out late last year, and they were taken straight to them and working those out. And like you said, Philip, it seems like maybe 1 every 4, 1 every 5 or so they'll plug up or they'll leave open, and I just kind of let them do what they want.
Yeah, something about his process when you get those frames, they've got a little like a texture. It's the wax. It's kind of like stipply or something.
It's kind of atomized on there. It's kind of builds up on there. It's not smeared on there like a.
But what's wild is after you put it in the colony and before they draw it out, it gets way more rough. It's like rough all over. Yeah, like the bees are like using that wax or doing something because it was wild when I pulled out some that weren't even drawn out. I was like, wow, it's like cast aluminum or something that's poor quality sand or something. You know?
Yeah, he runs them through a wax sprayer and it sprays the wax on those frames.
Yeah. And he does the same thing like you talked about, Bill. They manufacture all the frames, put them in boxes, and don't seal the tops, and they put them on pallets and put them aside. So they manufacture the I'm trying to remember the process. It's mind blanking me. Anyway,
injection molding, right?
Injection molding. Yes, thank you. And then he says what they do is, and it's an extra step. It really is. Probably requires a lot of extra time. When they get ready to get shipped out, they pull the boxes off. They run them all through. It's a sprayer. He set up his own spray rig that actually sprays both sides of them. So that why you feel that like textury wax buildup.
Yeah.
And his claim was that because it sits on there like that, the bees can manipulate it a little bit faster. That's something I don't know that I even paid attention to. But I'll tell you the smell of those heavy waxed frames with a good quality wax. Oh my gosh. It's intoxicating.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
Now I did something different this year. In some of my Demarest splits, I bought those frames from Michael for the cut comb frames with the mediums with the 4 spaces in them. You don't need a starter strip. So I put like 4 or 5 in each one of the hives. I want to see if I get cut comb in them.
You will if it's off flow.
Yeah.
My issue with cut comb is if you put them on there early, like I like to do, I like to get my boxes ready and I put like 1 or 2 in each box. Problem is the flow comes in so slow is that the bees end up putting pollen and tracking them and they get nasty. You want them in there. You really don't want them in there until the flow is really on. Then you'll get it quick and it'll stay clean. But I had some that got so dirty, I just extracted it as regular honey. It didn't even cut it out.
Yeah, that's the thing that stinks about building comb honey is you get some hits and you get some fails, and the percentage of fails is, it isn't like extracted honey where it's just like, well, they did part of the frame, I can still extract it out. With comb honey, it's either it's beautiful or maybe you can use it as seconds in the glass jar, and if not that, it just gets squeezed out in.
Yeah, you might get 2 pieces instead of 5 or something out of you.
Yeah. So I don't care what it looks like. It's going to go in a glass jar anyway and get filled with strained honey.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm going to sell it. So
what I do is I use 3x3. I don't use 4x4 like most people. And it leaves me about a 2-inch strip along the bottom. So the 3x3s get sold just in a little container. And the strip along the bottom, I'll cut them the exact depth of a jar of my little, it's a salsa jar is what it is. and I don't care how that looks on the bottom. And I usually get like 4 pieces of that for my chunk honey.
Yeah.
But I don't have any. I was so discouraged with the cut comb this year. I'm not even putting any in this year. I've been telling people I'm not selling it. Just not even worth it. Now this will be a year where it's crazy good flow. But last year I put one in each colony, and I still only got like 5 total frames of it. It was just pathetic.
Yeah. So we had those couple cold nights. So I mean, it was downright cold. It was down in the low 20s here in the valley, and I'm seeing a difference in my flow right now. It slowed it down.
I know.
What was wrong with you, Charlie?
What?
Everybody's asking, do you feel better?
I've had a head of cold and that kind of stuff. And
Oh, okay.
And hey Kevin. And I'm doing better.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'm just about over it. That's the vitamin C does make a difference.
Yep. You sound all stopped up still.
It's not, I don't have any congestion hardly at all. And all that. Hey, Brian.
So the next topic that I've had a lot of people ask about today, and I know there's different ways of installing queens and different ways of raising queens, and everybody's got their own way of doing it. So how do you do it, Tom? When you do you let your bees remake a queen, or do you introduce a queen?
So it depends. Yes and yes. So for the splits that we make that we're selling, and some that we're going to roll back into the operation, we'll use mated queens. But I don't just buy any mated queens. I've over the last 9 years, particularly more like 6 years, I've been really focused on, and I know some people don't care for it because there's trade-offs and things. I like bees that are hygienic. We treat, but, and I'm not saying I'm going to ever be treatment-free, but it's nice that the bees can kind of hold their own to some degree. So kind of having said that, I've really selected certain breeders that I've found that I liked. I like what I see in the colonies. I like seeing the hygienic behavior. So anyway, so I have a couple that I've used and currently use right now that I particularly am fond of. So what I actually do for our splits, the ones that we need to turn out, because I'm trying to build nukes out of not trying. I'm building all the nukes for sale and the rollback out of my colonies. So we're using all mated queens for those, so I can have them. So if I build them now, or like last week, I can have those ready by the very, very first part of May. The queen gets in there, she gets introduced, she starts laying. By the time that she starts laying, I can see a capped pattern. Once I see the capped pattern that's in there and it's acceptable to me, then I know that queen is a quote unquote good queen. Now, you can't tell with any queen the longevity, how long that she's going to last. You might have a queen that was mated really well and might last 3 or 4 years. You might have a queen that looked really good out of the gate and only lasts a year. You can't know that in long term. Nobody can. I don't care how good you are. But we try to cull anything that I don't particularly like right out of the gate pretty soon. But for the ability to be able to get people their nucleus colonies right away, or as soon as I possibly can within reason, we use mated queens for that. And I have a kind of a strict, I shouldn't say strict, more of a procedure that we use is when I make the splits, if I can make them early enough, say 4, 5, 6 days ahead of time, I can build those splits, set up my double deep, put a third deep on, put a queen excluder in between them, and bring all my assets that I'm going to split off of into that area. The queen can't get back up there and lay, but in the meantime, if there was eggs in there, they're aging out. So when I pull that split to put it into, or use a double screen board or put it into a nucleus colony, I've aged out anything there and basically made that split hopelessly queenless. So then I can introduce a candy release queen in there, and the acceptance, as long as you have either stimulation with nectar or stimulation with sugar syrup, the acceptance goes way up. You're trying to pull a lot of nurse bees. You let the forager bees leave and go back to the parent colonies. Those are all things I've found that tend to help. The other thing that I'll say is, if I don't do that ahead of time and I make the split and introduce a queen, I take a piece of tape. I just use masking tape, and I put it over the entrance to the JZBZ cage, and I slide her in there. Well, I come back in like 4 or 5, maybe 6 days later, and quickly go through the colony and check it. And if I see any cells, I rip them all down, and then I take the tape off there and I push her back in, and I don't check it for like a week to 10 days. The last couple of years I'm doing that, as long as, again, I'm under a nectar flow or a sugar syrup. I mean, we're talking 90, 95%. I mean, which is really high. But again, I have made those colonies basically hopelessly queenless. Now, there are times that you can make a split and introduce a mated queen inside there, and sometimes that will help. That pheromone smell will help to keep them from making it. Or if they do make some cells, as soon as the queen releases, she'll go out there and tear them down. I've seen that before too. So I think there's a couple ways you can do it. I'm just trying to ensure the best success that I can, and I found that by aging out the larvae, that seems to help best for me. And I do the same practice for virgin queens. Is you absolutely have to make a colony hopelessly queenless when you're introducing a virgin, because they'll kill a virgin faster than they will a mated queen. But that's what's worked for me, and my success has been pretty good, at the scale that we've been doing. So it takes a little bit more time, but I like the ability that I don't lose many, so.
Philip?
Yeah. In July 10th of 2020, I bought 2 full-size hives. That was my start. And then a month later, in August, I bought 2 queens and made splits. And I hadn't bought a bee since then. So I built with doing my own splits and catching swarms up to, like, I don't know what it is now. Started with like 65, but it's no telling what I got now. But I don't count until we go into winter. But the way that I do queen rearing have the last several years is I just pick my favorite colony and I just take their queen away, and I come back in about 10 days and I cut out the cells, and I make nukes, make a little breeding nuke and distribute those cells, and I can usually get 7 to 9 out of each colony. It might be 2 colonies that I do that with, 2 or 3 I do that with. But last year we did do some grafting. Noah did most of it, and it was a lot of fun. We didn't have a whole lot of success, but this year I have decided that I'm not doing anything. All I'm doing is, if I find swarm cells, I'm making splits with those, and I'm doing my walkaways, and that's all I really feel like I got time for. And I've already caught 8 swarms, so I'm still going to probably increase by at least 20 this year. So that's now. Having said that, I'm not against buying queens, and I'm actually seriously considering trying to bring in some Hawaiian queens in September if they are available, and making up some, because I'll have pretty good bee population in September, October. Making some splits, taking them through winter, and then selling those, because those, it's a crapshoot whether the bees are going to be gentle or mean as hell in my area. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. So if I'm going to offer nukes for sale, I want them to be gentle and people to have a good experience. So I may buy some queens and bring them in the fall. I don't remember which show it was on, but Cajun Brad came on and said that he bought some Hawaiian queens in May. I think like 25 of them, and he was real happy with them.
Yep.
That got me thinking, May is like the middle of our honey flow. I don't know that I want to be splitting bees by then, but I wouldn't mind taking some of my fading queens and just killing them off and coming back in 7 days and knocking down queen cells and sticking those Hawaiian queens in those, because they're not going to make honey anyway. But I was going to try to get Brad's number and call him and see how he did that, because he said he got them for like $25 a piece because they run like a sale at the end of the season when all the commercial guys have quit buying queen.
Yeah, they do, because I know where he's talking about getting them from, because that's where my queens are coming from this year. It's
Because I
from
was
there.
preparing to spend the $40 to $50 a pop or whatever over in September, which I'd rather not do. If I need to do something in May, even though I kind of want to relax by then, but because you kind of have to take a breather between April and into June, because the work starts again when the honey comes in.
Yeah, the queens will be cheaper in May, and then as the season goes on, they get even cheaper. And I'm not talking about Kona queens either. I'm talking about the different Hawaiian company over there that sells queens.
There's a company called Big Island Queens, and that's Kona. And then I'm not sure, there's some more over there. I was gonna get with Brad and ask him more about that.
Yeah, and the queens that they sell are the same queens that I raise, same breed. So, and they're all gentle. They're all calm. They're all got VHS tendencies, VSH tendencies, and their laying ability, they will explode in the spring.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you one thing I do. Everybody on here has probably heard Bob Benny talk about using a double screen board. You find queen cells, and maybe they've swarmed already, and you put one in the, put some queen cells in the bottom and the top, and put a double screen board and reverse it. I don't even have one here. I was going to show it to you, but I build most of my deep boxes with a ability to put a divider in the middle of it, and my double screen boards also have a way so I can divide it. So when I find queen cells, at the very least, if they're on 3 different frames, I can get 3 different splits out of that, all just by putting a double screen board on top and a deep box with a divider in the middle of it. And I've got the holes coming out of the double screen boards, one on the side and one on the front, on the opposite corner, so the queens aren't confused coming back. And I've had real good luck. Most of the time I get all 3 queens back when they're if they've swarmed.
yeah, I sold Dwayne Lamb. He just came up on here. He bought 80 of the queens that I brought in first batch, and he said they're all doing good so far. So, hey Travis, how are you tonight?
We hadn't heard how Charlie raises his queens.
Yep, he's next on the list. So what would you rather do, Charlie? Introduce a queen or introduce a queen cell? Which would be your preferred method?
Kind of depends on what you're doing. I've been messing with the queens for like the last couple of years here. Well, I've been grafting a while back, but back into queens here a little bit more serious and stuff like that. Last year I raised a bunch of my own queens, let them hatch, had a lot of virgins. And like Tom said, virgins are hard to get introduced. That was my biggest downfall last year. And queen cells seemed to be a little bit more acceptance, as far as putting it in a mating box, my experience. Something that I've watched or noticed and stuff, when you talk about these folks that are queen, they're more or less, well, they're not queen. They're queen rearing companies, but they are like cattle or anything else. They buy purebred breeder queens. They're buying $1,500 bugs.
Inseminated, but
Well, not just most inseminated. They are coming from a line of bees that they have been genetically looked over to get a certain traits that they want to pass through the rest of their lineage. Just like cattle. I mean, you get Wagyu beef, it's supposed to be, I have not tasted it yet, but it's supposed to be one of the best there is. And then you got, everybody's all about black Angus beef versus a Holstein cow. And a Holstein cow has been bred to produce a ton of milk. And it's just like these bees. You get, you got your Carnies and your Russians and your Italians, and each one of those races of bees have their own characteristics. And something I've looked in, I've tried. I had a hive here last year. I grafted off of because it was the biggest and nicest hive. I had tons of bees, tons of honey, and had all the right characteristics. The honey, the personality was calm, and you could mess with them and not have a problem. No bees up in your face. But then this year, I mean, my bees are definitely looking better than what they were last spring, because I just went through them yesterday and evaluated everybody. And as far as strength, I got one hive out there. It's the strongest hive I got, but they are the meanest bunch of bees I got. She's a 24 queen, works great. One of my queens, I'm pretty sure of, but she got an attitude big time. They're in your face. I don't like that. And I want to try, I won't say they're coming after me to sting me, but a lot, they're following me around and all that kind of stuff. So got to get rid of her this coming year after the honey flow. And then the rest of them are strong and pretty calm. And I don't know how kind of honey producers they're, but that's the thing about buying these queens, like say from out there, the breeder that Bill's getting his stuff from. It seems like to me, I'm raising a mutt and they're raising a pedigree. And you can tell it I think in the bees when you get those types of queens when you're buying in from those companies. And that's kind of a hard thing for me to, I like raising my own queens. I can do it and all like that. Takes more time. And everything. People are always calling me up about, do you got a queen? Do you got a queen? And but also I'm looking at, is it cheaper for me in the long run just to go ahead and buy 20 mated queens at one clip and drop them all in my hives, in June, just before the flow ends, and hopefully they're all mate, or not mate, but all be accepted, and I'm ready to, bust the honey seams next spring. We'll see. I had two hives there that were my queens, and I had to put new queens in. They just didn't turn out good. I got another hive out there, hive number 2. I just tore it down yesterday. I said the queen ain't no good, even though she's a 25 queen. She's worthless, And I just pulled the 3 or 4 frames of brood that she made and put it in somebody else's hive, and it's a dead out as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So
what we do is, like Charlie was saying, and we sell nukes. And in the process of selling nukes, if you sell 1 or 2 spicy nukes of bees, that word's going to get out.
Yep.
And you're not going to be able to sell bees again. Because people are going to say, well, you sell hot bees or you sell spicy bees. I don't want your bees. So I would rather buy a line of genetics that I'm comfortable with and I know that make calm bees. That way, I took last year off and didn't sell nukes. I've got people crawling out of the woodwork that want nukes because they know my bees are calm. I'll buy those bees, those queens, and get the nukes built up with a split from the existing hives and then drop a mated queen in them. And that calms them down and they're fine after that. But it's those queens have the genetics that we're looking for. And I could have bred this year and had those same genetics, but with some of the stuff that I've got going on, I can't because I don't have the time to do it right now.
Yeah.
But once I get past this point, then I can do it next year. I'll be set up to do it next year. And it's going to be simpler for me to do it the way I'm doing it now than it is to try to breed. But now, yeah, I have ringed myself with those genetics. You got to be generous with queens when you get them, and you just give them away, or you give your stock away as you breed it to beekeepers around you that are 4 or 5 miles out, so that creates a DCA with your genetics. Then you can open breed your queens at that point, and you know what you're getting back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
want
can I
to
answer,
jump
can I
on
answer
that.
Vince's?
What's that?
Before you start talking about your queens, I just wanted to answer Vince's question real quick. Vince, I generally do not put that queen back in because she was selected because of what she did the previous year or the year before that, if it's 2 years. But I generally just pull her off and make a split and let her build back up again in a different column. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Eddie. How you
No,
doing?
it's all right. Y'all started talking about queens. I just felt like I wanted to be in it.
Sure. I mean, now we got the expert. We saved the best for last.
I don't know.
So did you hear the question?
Yeah, about how we like to introduce queens was the original question, right?
Yeah. Do you want to introduce a queen cell, or are you going to go out here and buy a queen and introduce it because of the genetics and
I'm a queen breeder,
what you're
so I'm gonna
doing
use
with them?
my genetics, but I like virgins. You know, I have really good luck with it. I know a lot of people seem to think that cells are readily accepted better. I don't see a difference between a virgin and a cell, as long as you prepare what you're putting it into. You know, I like to pull a small nuke out of what I'm trying to requeen and put it in a different location. Give it a week, knock down the queen cells. All the foragers are going back to the original hive. They'll take almost anything. You know, I get really, really high acceptance rates. I mean, it's in the 90%. I mean, every once in a while you don't get one doesn't come
And
back.
I think that's the biggest mistake that everybody does make, including myself, is that we all want to get that hive requeened as fast as possible. And then, like you're just stating, there's a process.
Yeah.
If it's a cell or a mated or a virgin, you want to age those bees or larvae out so they're hopelessly queenless.
Yeah.
You're not slowing things down though, because if you're wanting to requeen a hive, you can leave the queen that's in there, let her keep laying, just pull a nuke out of it, put it on the side, let the stuff age out, get your queen mated in there after you knock down any cells they've mated. Your other queen is still laying. When you're ready to switch it out, you go kill that other queen, wait a couple days, knock down cells if you need to, and then drop that whole nuke back in, and they're going to take it almost every time.
All right. So, I mean, so you pull a nuke out, you let it sit for 7 days, you age everything out as far as what's in there, knock all your cells out in 5 frames, and then you just walk.
No, I usually candy release her. I mean, sometimes I'll walk them in, but I always tell everybody just candy release her. That's going to be the safest bet.
And I know Mark Miller's in there. He would really put like a 1/4 of an inch of candy in the tube in like a JZBZ cage. Are you putting a full tube in? Because it takes
I put a full tube in a nuke. Now, if I'm doing it in a little styrofoam mini, then I only put like a 1/4 inch of candy in it.
Yeah, I really like that idea because what you're doing is you're letting all those forager bees fly back to the original location.
Yeah,
You're
and
really
that's the key. You don't want the foragers there because they're the ones that are going to give you the trouble. If you just got nurse bees, and they don't really give you trouble. I mean, sometimes I won't even waste the time, but
So
it's
then
better
once
to
you
waste
get
the time.
once you get her accepted and she gets the laying for a while, we're talking what, 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah, not real long. Because those bees, that little nuke you've made, they're pretty much all her bees. I mean, not all the bees aren't from her, but they're loyal to her. You know, so when you go, if you go to put it back in the other hive after you now take out the other queen and give it a couple of days, and then when you drop that nuke in, I don't think I've ever had that fail. I'm not saying that it's going to work 100% of the time for everybody.
No, but that's exactly where George Doolittle did. They talked about 100 years ago is that if you want to requeen a hive, he said, I could go over there, pull that queen out of the original parent or main hive and drop in a 3 or 4 frame nuke with her bee. I'm talking with her brood, her bees, and that new fresh queen in there. That's all a one little package. Drop that whole package right in there within a minute of taking the old queen out. And he stated in his book that he probably had 59 out of 60 of them accepted. Because you got all that pheromone process going on there.
Somebody did a test where they just took the queens and just took one out of one colony, one out of them, just switched them, and they had like a 98% acceptance rate, and they did it like
that's called.
I tried that.
That's you're back to the whole key thing here is you got pheromones. You got a laying queen versus a caged queen.
Yeah.
And it's a different pheromone thing. But if you take that little nuke, that 4 frame package with the queen, with her bees, with her brood, you've got all that pheromone coming off of the brood, the bees, and her, which is really potent and strong. Now, if you're pulling out an old queen that's failing, her pheromones are going to overbound the old queen completely, in my opinion.
I took a queen that I was trying to get rid of because their bees were so mean. I put her in a clip. I didn't kill her. And then bees started coming to the clip and like a 1/4 mile away from her hive. So I just stuck her in a swarm box, and now I got one of the biggest swarms I caught and moved in with her. So I'm anxious. I went through, I couldn't find her. There were so many bees in there. She's marked, and I'm anxious to see, is she leading that colony? And I think she probably is, because she was the best laying queen I had. I just couldn't stand the demeanor of her bees. And the bees that were in there with her on this swarm didn't even try to sting me. They were as gentle as they could be. And this was after they were already established and drawing comb and everything. So
yeah.
That pheromone is powerful for those laying queens.
All right, Keith, it's your turn. I saw your comment earlier when I even mentioned this earlier. So now it's your turn.
Yeah, how y'all doing tonight? Yeah, I guess I'm the contrarian. I don't do anything but walkaways. I haven't bought queens in years. So,
but you hardly make any honey.
That's a good point, Philip.
Sorry about that. Continue. And, I'm just like throwing tomatoes back there.
Hadn't really thought of it that way, but
Keith, Philip's usually the contrarian on here, and now you're kind of taking his place here tonight.
That's right. Yeah, I'm jealous. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've told the story before, and everybody's probably tired of it, but yeah, I just do walkaway splits. I've never actually pinched a queen. I let them requeen when they feel like it. Obviously, I do see super seizure cells in some of the hives occasionally, so I just let them do their thing. But my good old Shacktown mutts have worked well for me.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, you say you let them requeen the new hive and all that. So that tells me, are you looking at that hive and saying, look, I want this hive to be a producer? Or are you just like, okay, well, when they get around to it, they can do whatever they want?
That's a good point.
That's my key this year. I've sat down and I counted up. I got 12 strong colonies there with 2 or 3 medium size colonies as far as strength goes. And like, I need my production level and I want them things to really, kick butt. I'm not like your typical backyard guy where like, okay, yeah, I got bees, whatever happens, happens. Well, I don't want that. That's not going to happen here. It ain't whatever happens, happens. This is what's got to happen.
Yeah.
Or you're out, you're done.
Yeah. Well, I definitely don't have a quota for honey. Obviously, my production has gone up the past 3 years quite a bit. Don't know what I got this year until it gets in a bucket, but we shall see. But no, I don't set out saying it's like this year I'm going to have 15 production hives. I kind of determine how many production hives I've got based on how they do. Do they produce? If they don't produce, then the hives that aren't making honey are the ones that I split and sell. So I still make money off of those. So,
yeah, but what about your honey customers? Hey, you mean you ran out of honey? You never want to run out of honey.
I always run out of honey. I made 2,500 pounds last year. I ran out of honey. So, it happens. I'm out right now. But,
would you keep?
I got some I'll sell you, Keith.
Do what, Bill?
I got some I'll sell you. I got honey. I got supers ready to come off.
I actually bought 2 buckets back from a guy that I sold 6 or 8 buckets to because I had so many people asking for honey. I bought back 10 gallons and bottled it and sold it during the winter. But yeah, all that's gone now too. So yeah, Charlie, I'm just an old retired guy making what honey I can. I don't have a quota for the ladies. Right now I've got, I started winter with 26. I came out with 23. Two died and 1 I combined. I'm back up to 30 now. Some of those are nukes. They're not honey makers. Nukes will make a little bit of honey for you, but not a whole lot. But I'll probably have what I'll call 16, 17 production hives this year. About what I had last year.
Right. And then you're also in a flow. You have a certain type of a flow area. Hopefully you have sound like to me, you have a good area for a good flow.
Yeah. In the past, we've been blessed, kind of an early spring flow. And then we're fixing to get into the main flow. The tulip poplars are about to pop. So I'll probably be pulling honey here before long to catch the early stuff. Some of my customers like that. It's a lighter colored and lighter flavor than the tulip poplar, but a lot of my customers love that reddish tulip poplar. It's a stronger honey. So, but I like to have the two different kinds for the customers when I start the markets, which start in I think my first market is May the 6th. And I don't have any honey right now, so I guess I need to get out there and give my girls a pep talk, don't I?
Well, I mean, I don't do markets. I just have enough, I like to have around 1,500 pounds a year, just to basically cover myself from one year to the next, So Ryan, what's happening?
Hey, how y'all doing? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow will be my my split day. So this year I took all the colonies that made it through the winter time. Charlie and Bill, you guys remember when I was calling you what happened with all my supers?
Yep.
Yeah, so actually Bob Benny got back to me on that, and for everyone in the chat and everyone, just a big wax tax that I paid this year. I was on vacation with my wife and the kids, and my father came over and treated my honey supers, and he used the help me out, Bill. What's it called?
Formic
No,
or Guard.
he treated the wax with the mothballs that have the
Oh yeah. Cetane.
yeah. So I lost it was like 60 boxes
Yep.
with about 600 frames, and I called around to a bunch of commercial beekeepers, and so I had to I had to go ahead and trash all that. The boxes I had to score the insides of all the propolis and get them all cleaned up and everything. So anyways, long story short, so I'm starting with I got like 400 frames of Peerco mediums that I'm trying this year. So what I did was I used the queen excluder method for my splits, where I shook all the bees down to the bottom, where the queen's down in the bottom. I put 4 frames of cat brood down there, moved all the rest of the open brood, because they were double deeps, open brood up. So all my splits tomorrow should be pretty easy as far as going through there, taking everything I need for all my splits and all the colonies. I should make probably about 40 splits, and then I'll be grafting tomorrow also. But yeah, then
you were downsizing, not expanding.
Yeah, so I'm trying to I have most of those nukes are going to be sold. But let me tell you, I don't think the nuke selling side of this hobby, it can kind of be a pain in the ass. Some of the customers that I promised them a nuke, they want them now, and I can't provide it now.
Yep.
And so I've actually had some people message me and say, hey, I'm going to go elsewhere to get it, when I've already told them, like, hey, the nuke's not going to be available for me in Maryland till during the nectar flow. I mean, you know that, Charlie. I can't get a mated queen and to build up a nuke fast enough unless I buy queens. So yeah, I think I don't know. My bees look extremely healthy. And then Charlie, I think we talked about, I've never used the Formic Pro before, and I was checking the weather, and I know we have some warm days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but it looks like Friday evening. I was told to put it on in the evening, the Formic Pro. So for the first,
yeah, but you want to be 80 degrees or less when you're putting that stuff on.
Right. For
4 days straight.
And the low doesn't get below like 55 or something like that.
Yeah, but that's the problem with us here in the Mid-Atlantic area. That's why they bring, packages from from down in Georgia and nukes from down in Georgia, because everybody here has got spring fever and they want everything now. And, I got a couple phone calls, you got any queens? I'm like, I hadn't even thought about queens. I said, hasn't it been 32 degrees last week for 4 days in a row? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you expect?
Yeah, when I go to sell nukes, I tell everybody, look, they're weather dependent, and typically they're not ready before the end of April, and sometimes not even until the first or second weekend in May.
Yeah,
is when the nukes are ready.
So real quick, have any of you 5 heard of Sam Comfort's bees?
Yeah, I know that he's some hippie down in Florida.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So I got a hold of a friend of mine here in Maryland, is his good friend. So I got 3 of his mated queens, and I had some really strong colonies. So I made some early splits. I checked those 3 nucleus colonies today. All 3 of them are superseding that queen, and she has stopped laying. So I'm done with buying mated queens. I don't know. I've had the worst luck, but when I graft and stick the cells in and they raise the queen, it just works out for me better. Or if I have a colony that's got swarm cells, I make a split. I'm done buying queens.
Yeah, anyway, you can do it. It's like I just said. You want to supply your area with nukes, and they're you got these brand new beekeepers. I talked to one, I guess it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. You know, never went to bee school. Doesn't belong to a club. Did
Yep.
some YouTube. He's picking up a nuke from a boy that I'm helping out because he's overseas right now. And what's he worried about? Well, I don't want him to swarm. And should I put the supers on and all that? And I'm like, dude, you bought a nuke, not a hive.
Yeah.
You know, it's like feed them sugar water. All you're going to do is draw wax out. I said, where'd you get your frames at? Amazon. I said, well, there's your first mistake
Yeah.
right there. You know, and they don't know squat. You know, and I get, the more you talk to them, the more aggravates you get with them. And when it comes to nukes and stuff like that, you know, they're wanting these beautiful nukes and stuff like that. Well, guess what? You better have them raised down in South Carolina and bring them up here. So anyway, you can make people happy.
Yeah.
They're a month, they're 6 weeks ahead of us, 2 months ahead of us.
Yeah.
And that's you know, it's just like I say, everybody up here, April comes, they want all their stuff. They want it to be like it's springtime. Well, in order to do that, you got to buy Georgia bees and, you know, maybe Georgia or South Carolina nukes and bees. That's the only way you can do it. You know, it's like Bill's getting mated queens out of Hawaii or California, Hawaii, or wherever it's at, you know, where it's warm. You know, I don't know. I used to sell nukes. I just got tired of all the aggravation.
So real quick with the Formic Pro, do you all, if you even use the product, do you use the 2 pads at once or the 1 pad?
It depends on the mite load and time of year and everything else. And if you're going to do it in the spring, you need to put a spacer in there just in case it gets hot real quick on middle of the day.
Okay.
Because the weather in the spring is very unpredictable. I mean, Formic Pro should be on in the March, first week of April.
And I use it in September after Labor Day.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't do that, Bill, because we had that cold front.
It's all weather dependent, Ryan.
It's all weather dependent. You got to watch the weather. But if you wait too late, like this week, it's going to be in the high 80s and 90s here in the valley.
Yeah. That's why I was looking at the weather. So Friday would be my best bet.
Yeah. Well, why you got overloaded with mites, Ryan, or what?
Oh, I treat spring, and then I treat around like August, and then I do my OAV. I do mite washes, but I treat also. I'm not gonna not treat. Plus,
I mean, for me, I don't treat in the springtime. I start treating in July and then September, and then I go right and I start OAV throughout the wintertime.
Yeah. So I used to do Apivar strips Valentine's Day, then take them off before supers go on.
You waste your money there, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I've past years I haven't done that, but I've always treated in the spring. I'll do some mite washes here once I make all these splits. But it's going to be tough this year, though, because, I mean, I had 600 frames, beautiful comb for my honey supers.
You say you couldn't use any of that comb? It wouldn't air out or something?
No, because it's a food product in the wax. And it just didn't sit right with me. And I'm just the kind of person kind of like learned the mistake. I went ahead and so actually when I was researching it, Charlie, the plastic is actually worse than the wood. So most of my honey supers, I use the Pureco double wax white mediums. Those will hold that chemical more than the wood will. So yeah, it was a mistake. And I mean, it won't happen again. I mean, that was 60 boxes full that I was no wax mold damage. It was the wrong product put in them. So
that cetane works pretty good, doesn't it? Keeps
Yeah,
my balls out, doesn't it?
So now I built myself an outdoor rack system. I'm gonna keep all my supers. They won't be in any darkness. They'll have airflow and light at all through the year. So
Or you can just buy a walk-in freezer.
yeah, I could.
That's what I do. You know, but that's limiting too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Are you trying to treat the splits or treat the hives that you're getting the splits out of?
So both. So the splits that I make tomorrow, that'll be Tuesday. Friday, I will go back. I will go through those splits and then knock down all the cells that they make, the emergency cells, and then I will hit them with OAV and then I'll hit them another time before I introduced my queen cells for my grafts. So I always hit my splits to get them clean before there's a virgin walking around in there, because I don't know what the OAV does when there's a virgin walking around. I don't know. I just don't want to bother them when there's that queen cell goes in. So I'm going to treat them before.
Hey, you have a week that you can, that when you're doing I don't know, with introduce, you might lose it with a cell or a queen. I know when you do a walkaway, you have about a week there when all the old brood is emerged and the new queens are not capped. There's about a week.
Yeah, yep. And when I use the queen excluder method for my splitting, I won't have to find the queen, because I moved up specific frames that will already be capped tomorrow a week ago. So when I was doing the numbers, that those should all emerge within the next 7 to 10 days. So I'll be able to clean those bees up before I put those cells in there.
Yeah, I did. I got a friend that she had one hive and queen she loved, and they swarmed on her. And I tried to get her swarm, but it was way too high in the tree. So I made an offer to her. I said, "Look, let me just make a bunch of splits out of those." And I said, "If you," and I spent a couple of hours doing this, but I made 4 splits and left cells in the original colony. And she didn't want that many, but I said, if you'll just pay me $50 for each one you want to keep and give me the rest of them, I'll come over and do that for you. So now I'm gonna go over there next Sunday, and we're gonna check for queens, and then 4 days later we're gonna do an OAV, and everything should be open cells. There shouldn't be a cap cell in all 5 of those, assuming they all made it. But yeah, you can time it out with a walkaway like that, or even with cells. It's not much time, but you can time it out to get them with OAV and clean them up.
Right. And that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be fun to treat I got a whole bunch of pro nukes, so I guess I'll just shoot it right in the front. I mean, I really don't know. That's plastic. It'll melt my vapes. So
I told her she had like 20 swarm cells in there. I could have made 10 splits if I'd had more bees to work with. I just ran out of bees to put in the splits. It was fun though.
Hey Keith, I saw your thing on there. It said you were going to try that anybody uses the Naroa. I was reading an article about that today, about the Naroa treatment.
Right.
And you almost have to follow it up with either Formic Pro or OA right behind it.
So what good is it then?
Because all it does,
That's an expensive sugar syrup.
it is. It really is. It's really expensive, and all it does is hold your number. It doesn't kill anything. It just holds the number.
Doesn't it make them infertile or something?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you've got new mites coming in all the time on the bees. So all you're doing is holding your number.
I don't know I think that the growth in the colony is the queen's breeding. You may get a few coming in.
Yeah.
But
I seen Travis in here. Travis, if you're still in here, did you ever get your meeting with EPA on your extended release done yet?
Yeah, like
Doesn't-
Mark says, it's just a birth control method for the
Yeah,
mites.
to me, the biggest drawback of Naroa is
All
queens
right,
just don't last long anymore. You're going to have to do that every single year.
Yeah.
April 30th. That's when he gets.
Wow,
That's when their meeting is.
it's not far away.
No, it's not far
No,
away at
but-
all.
You know, it'll take them 6 months or more if everything goes well to get approved. I guarantee you.
Yep.
But that product that he's got right there, I think that's going to be a game changer.
I do too.
For
I
sure.
think it's got the right amount of OA in there.
Yep.
That's has already been proven by Benny and Drodgers. And it's got a nice packaging situation there where you got 4 strips, put the 4 strips on either in line with the frames or across the frames. You line up the little holes in the strips so the bees can go up and through it. Makes it even better for applying stuff, I guess, to the bees itself. And it lasts for 90 days or 3 months.
How do they get the Naroa to the queen? Is it they feed it to all the bees and then the bees feed it to the queen? Is that how that works?
Yeah. And they feed it to the drones as well.
Okay. I'm just
all that.
hopeful that it works so they can use it when the other might come around.
Travis, will you be the exclusive distributor for your new product?
Well, he's a manufacturer.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but he's also a distributor because he's distributing his Easy Ox as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's going to be an Easy Ox product. But I mean, they're going to distribute it like with Bill. I'm sure he'll, be able to carry
Yeah,
it.
I'll pick up this. I'll definitely pick up those strips. So
The main thing is having, I think, having them been able to manufacture enough to keep up with demand and all.
I'm sure in the very beginning it'll be some lulls, but once he figures it out on how to get it out quicker.
Have all our distributors carrying them.
Yeah.
And I was, like I say, I was talking to him at Missouri show, and he was telling me how how the manufacturing line is, and I told him, I said, he's in the demand and all, and I said, you're going to have to come up with some kind of mechanized machine to keep up with the demand. I think it's going to be. It's just so well thought out.
Yep. So what we do is we have that vaporizer, and it's a kit. It's a vaporizer, a half-face respirator, and I take a bag of the 400-gram Easy Ox powder and put it in the kit along with the vaporizer.
Can we bring them over?
And he's got the manufacturing line partially built this weekend. That's good.
Good.
Speaking of manufacturing, who all's looking forward to getting a new smoker next month?
I'm like biting a bit to get one of them things.
Yeah, me too.
Every time I get on the video, I wish I had my darn
Is that
smoker.
technically beekeeping one?
Huh?
Is that
Technically beekeeping smoker. I want one of them so bad. And it's like it's like I went over there and helped that young guy out, and I made splits Saturday afternoon for him, nukes for his nuke customers since he's overseas. And his father had a day dance smoker, and I got my Man Lake. Well, there's one thing about it. That was one thing about who's the guy out there, and he used to have a lot of videos. JCBs, I think it is, out there in Ohio.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was right on that. I got a Man Lake smoker, and I did have a day dent, which I burned a hole in the side of it. And the spring and a day dent is like, man, you talk about an exercise machine. That thing is tough. And compared to the Man Lake, it's nice and soft, And I'm like, and then trying to keep the darn smokers lit all the time. I don't care how good you are. I never had that luck. I don't use it that much. I just need a little puff here and a puff there once in a while. And I'll still be glad I just pulled my gun out and pulled the trigger and puff. It's there. I'm done.
Charlie, I think you've got legend status. That's what it is.
I don't know. I've been at beekeeping a long time, and I still had problems. I mean, even though you start out with a small group of needles in the bottom, and you get it fired up, and then as you get things rolling, then you put more in, and it's like it takes you a half an hour to finally get a smoker that'll stay lit for half a day. Of course, some people put those wood pellets in there and all that, but I'm not
the trick.
By the time you do all that, I'm done inspecting and doing the highs. I'm going to go do something else,
Yeah, exactly. I'm ready to go to the house.
We use a combination of something that everybody has. Everybody gets junk mail. You have a shredder. You take your old documents, junk mail, run it through the shredder. That's what starts the smoker up for us. We throw some in the bottom.
Long shredders, the little cross-cut jobs.
I think it's a cross-cut.
I got a bag full of them.
Bucket with that. And then I also fill up, those big peanut M&M jugs you get from like Sam's Club? They're about like so. So I have a couple of those that I fill up with the hardwood pellets. So I can get a bag of the hardwood pellets at the end of the year for like $5 or $6, a 40-pound bag, and I'll buy a couple of them. So we keep a couple of those in there. So I layer it. Start it off with junk mail. Then you throw in some pellets on top. Get it kind of chooching and get it puffing really good. You got to get it burning. And then layer it again with some junk mail, and then the pellets. And I'm honest to God, I can keep that smoker going for the better part of probably 5, maybe even 6 hours if I stuff it full. And you know how many people stop me? I usually take a wine cork and then whittle it down and shove it in the end of it. But Melissa loses them for me all the time. So
no, she doesn't.
She does. She loses them.
She doesn't.
Just don't pay no attention to that.
You need to take a little chain and nail it like a curtain pull chain or a fan pull chain.
Yeah.
And nail to the end of that wooden cork, and then loop it around and snap it together.
Yeah.
Or put it on a keychain holder on the other end, so it's on the handle of the smoker. That way you can't lose it.
That is what I need to do. I'm very cautious about where I put it. She just starts throwing it all over the place and willy-nilly. It's kind of a train wreck going on is what it is, Bill.
The boys down in Georgia, all they do is just put a 12 gauge in there, and that's fine. That's
it. 12 or 20.
If you keep that smoker going as you're rolling down the road and it's smoking, you got people pull up to a stoplight and you're like, "Hey, your truck's smoking," and I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, I know. I'm a beekeeper." They're like, "Oh my gosh, we thought it was on." I had somebody follow me home before. I thought I was going to have to get out.
You're on fire.
Yeah, I know. And I'm
Truck's on fire. I've had them come up to me on that too.
I said, "Let it burn." It's fully
fire light.
intrigued.
You're sitting at a stoplight and somebody calls 911, and all of a sudden the fire truck's pulling you over.
And pick your truck out.
You're trying to pull over. He's trying to pull over behind you. You're trying to pull out, and he's trying to pull back and forth, and it's some kind of a cartoon show.
Yep.
Yeah. They said you're smoking, and you're like, "Yeah, I know, baby."
As long as you don't leave the smoker in the vehicle with you as you're rolling down the road.
Look like Cheech and Chong when you roll down the window and smoke roll
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you could do like, who's that? Yeah, baby.
Oh,
that,
Michael,
Cheech and
Michael
Chong?
Myers.
Yeah.
Like Cheech and Chong. Yeah, that's some good shit. I followed my dog all around all week to get it because he ate my stash.
Doberman. Okay, we're showing our age.
Off
Yeah,
the
we
rails.
are. We're definitely showing our age.
Yeah, what are y'all talking about?
Cheech and Chong.
Nice one.
You never
man.
seen
Nice
Cheech
one.
and Chong?
Yeah,
I've
hey,
heard of them.
Are you? Huh? You're
I've
really?
heard of 'em.
You've never, Ryan? You've never seen a Cheech and Chong movie?
His dad probably has a T-shirt.
No, I've never seen a movie. No.
Really?
Yeah, they've made all kinds of movies.
Up in
Ah.
smoke.
It was the
What, in the
biggest
eight-
dope
Yeah, Up in Smoke.
movies you ever did see. It was great.
That was probably the 80s.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, late 70s.
I like that
early
one where
80s.
they're in that. What was in the van, you know, and he had
Maybe late
what's that
70s,
kind of,
early 80s.
what's the ones they made the marijuana ropes? What did they call them things? What was that called?
Hemp.
No, it's like a.
I was born in 1993, Charlie.
Oh,
Holy cow.
You can't be on this chat.
Man, that just aged me. Shoot. That just aged me. I was graduated in 94. Holy cow. I didn't realize I was that old.
Sorry.
Yeah. At the beekeeping meeting tonight, they said something about something.
Nah,
that
what
way
was that?
back in
What was the
90s.
dope? What was the marijuana dope? You know, that was kind of wrapped in like a cigar. They had a certain name for that. I forget what it was.
Keith?
Huh?
Keith?
A blunt?
Tie stick.
I forget what it was.
Hey, Charlie, I'm not judging you here, but I'm a pretty straight-laced fellow, okay? And you went over me and Peabody's head on all this stuff. We're a couple young guys that
You
we
know,
don't
back
get
in the
this kind of
school days,
trouble,
I was
so-
right because you had dime bags and nickel bags.
Yeah, nickels, dimes.
no clue what you're
I wonder
saying
what that-
there.
I wonder what those are with inflation now.
I heard a lady,
A hundo bag.
I heard a lady call it today the devil's lettuce. Oh, that was good.
Hey, Bill, you know what they're doing to your chat right now, don't you? These guys
Yeah, I
are
know.
derailing it.
We're going
I
to
They
get
say that I
demonetized.
cause trouble. I think
I
it's
was going to
Stormy
cause some
Charlie.
trouble too.
Hey, guys, I got one question, and then I'm going to hop off of here. I want to know what you all do with this time of year with those nasty, well, not nasty, but pollen bread frames that'll be in like lot 2 and 8 or 2 and 9. What do you all do with those frames?
I'm waiting for the answer to this too because I got a bunch of those.
What do you
I
mean?
got a lot of
You got pollen
bread
frames that are all where you got all pollen bound.
Yeah, pollen
Yeah, I'm
bound.
getting some of my colonies are getting a little bit too. I'm too much pollen. Yes.
Are
Trade
you
them all.
feeding pollen or they got pollen coming in?
No pollen coming in. Bee
Oh,
bread.
that's where you
pollen.
put everybody. You got a nucleus got to get a pollen frame so you can get rid of them junk frames.
Oh
Scrape them
yeah,
off.
no, that's the plan, Charlie. But I'm
That's the
just
plan. Get rid of
wondering-
all them. I mean, people look at me like I'm crazy. I said, look, when you got 4 or 5 pollen frames in a darn high, you got to pull all that stuff out and throw it off to the side or keep it for maybe a cell builder or something like that. But or put it in the nuke box along. Here you need a pollen frame.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Do you typically have a pretty good pollen dearth midsummer or late season?
Well,
we do.
yeah. One
Could
thing
you-
I quit doing was I do not feed pollen powder anymore. That you will pack your hives full of that stuff.
So Charlie, I've never done that, but we live fairly close to each other, so I'm actually going to stop feeding pollen patties also next year. I don't feel like we need to do that in our area.
Yeah.
No,
There's
you
so
don't.
much pollen, Charlie.
Yeah. I mean, I only feed them in February.
Yeah, but so yeah, I mean, but
I'm
but
just
why
trying to.
though?
I'm trying to push the darn. The bees. I'm trying to. I want-
So here's a question for you, Tom and Peabody. Have you ever been driving down the road and you see these feathers hanging from the mirrors? of a car.
I have, yes.
I have
Do
not.
you know what that? Do you know what that is?
Didn't they used to tie those to roach clips?
Yep.
I don't know specifically what it means, but I seem to remember that.
Yep. That's what they were for.
Okay.
What's
Was that
got to
so
do with
when you
foul?
had a doobie,
So-
you could just kind of take that feather and just kind of brush your face and
No,
make you feel real good and all?
so that you can clip it on your hat or on the back of your shirt or something like that, or on your jean jacket, and you didn't lose your roach clip, and nobody really knew what it was for, other than you could tell them it was a decoration.
Sandy Valley, are you suggesting he popped my cherry on my innocence there?
Yeah, he did.
I don't know, Brian. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, Maryland's got a lot of pollen.
Yeah,
So
like
Ryan,
it's-
Ryan, can I make just maybe a suggestion and maybe it would be helpful for you? I don't know.
oh, 100%. I'm
Did-
always open.
So I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. If you happen to have a pretty good pollen dearth, and I imagine everybody does to some degree, is it possible for you to take, I don't know, maybe like a frame or two out of each hive? And I don't know how many you have, and if that's even an option. Freeze it, and if you froze it and then stored it in an area where there's not going to have any pests to get to it, I don't know, inside an area that's pest free, and maybe in your home somewhere that you can keep them kind of locked up, and then feed it back to them, say in a few months, and then and then try to use that time. Was it realistic to draw out some new combs or to put some new combs in there to kind of keep them moving along and just hold back a couple frames, and then you could give it back to them in a few months? Would that help you
Yeah,
out,
so-
if you think, or not?
Yeah, so that's actually that. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So if I do that, and I do have a freezer that I can use that for. So when that bee bread that they've squished in there, they'll eat that in say July and August, and when I pull it from the freezers,
Yeah.
so that it doesn't hurt it by putting the pollen in the freezer.
I wouldn't think so, because doesn't typically a freezer or freezing anything typically stop the process of aging to some degree? I mean, I don't know the specific answer to that. But I would
I'm
only
not
assume.
sure. But my problem is I run a bunch of single honey production colonies.
Okay.
So I need like 7 frames of brood, 8 frames of brood. I don't need frame 2 and 9 being. I need frame 1 and 10 to be honey with a little bit of pollen, and all the rest the way that I set them up is brood, and I'm dealing with a lot of pollen this year. So it's just I was just wondering if you guys deal with that. If I ran doubles, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I would just leave them in that 2 and 8, 2 and 9 position. But
Yeah, I don't know that I deal specifically with what you're suggesting. I mean, we do get a lot of pollen flows here in Missouri, but I'm running the double deep configuration, so maybe that lightens my load a little bit. I can still keep a big brood nest, and then when they start to backfill, I can put supers on really quick. So I don't know. I don't know if there's really a good answer to that, to be honest with you.
I seen somebody say something. I forget what it was. Is there any way of cleaning them frames out and still have the wax?
running the singles is very challenging. I think I'm going to go with a single medium configuration. Just so hard. You have to be in them so much, and there's no room for error, and you get a lot of honey if you set them up right, but it's very difficult for me.
Yeah, I don't know about the pollen frames. I've got a box full of them out here I brought back from the farm because I would run across some, especially the ones that were supposed to be making their queen, but for some reason they didn't. They just kept bringing it in. But I have a question that's related to that running the single deeps, because that's what I'm doing. And one of my strategies this year is going to be to have my swarms and my old queen nukes off to the side, and I'm just going to steal cap brood out of those and stuff it into the production colony. But because I don't use foundation, I have a whole lot of brood comb in there. So what I was thinking was maybe I'll add a second deep and stuff it full of brood. But I'm just wondering if that's going to backfire on me, because now I've got a lot of young bees to feed. So maybe they're eating the honey instead of, you know what I'm saying? If the timing's not right, that could be, it could work against me. But trying to boost them with a So what do you guys think about that as a strategy?
I don't know. I just take the darn.
I mean, yeah,
thing,
that
throw 'em in
would
the
that
dumpster-
would
throw 'em in
work.
the
It did.
dumpster.
Like I watch Troy Simpson on YouTube, and like this time of year is there's such a fine line from keeping the bees in the box and capitalizing as much workforce for the nectar flow. It's so difficult because each colony is different. It's tough, but I mean, I feel like that would work for you for what you're talking about.
Yeah, I may try it on a couple and see. I'm not that's my concern is that I'm going to force them to swarm when I start loading those boxes up with extra brood.
Right.
As far as going back to a deep and medium line, and
Done.
I'm gonna have to bow out, y'all. Thanks for having me. I got
All right, Eddie.
I got stuff like 150 queen cages for candy for the morning. So
Hey, Eddie, it's cool. They've offended me too, man. You know what? I'm about ready to bounce out of this thing. I don't know what to think now. My head's all jumbled up.
all right, y'all have a good night.
See you,
Good
man.
night, Eddie.
See you, Eddie.
Well, it's 10:05. It's a school night. Everybody's got to go to work tomorrow. So,
Dang it.
yep, I'm going to end the chat. Whoever wants to hang out in the green room can. So, y'all have a good evening. Tomorrow night is Tom's chat. Wednesday night is stream team. Thursday night is Keith. And late night this week, right, Keith?
Yeah.
All right. And then Friday night is Charlie. Saturday night is Joey. And we all get Sunday night off unless you find something else to watch. So y'all have a good week.
Gunline bees is Sunday.
Yep, that's right.